My husband peeled a shrimp for my best friend. His movements were practiced and natural. My best friend ate it with a smile, then winked at me. Don't mind it, Wei Wei. He's just used to taking care of people. I looked down at the braised prawns and oil on my plate. They were my favorite. Chen Ming used to carefully peel them for me, arranging them in the shape of a heart, one by one. Now he was peeling shrimp for another woman, right in front of me. What's wrong? Wei Wei, are you unhappy? Chen Ming finally noticed my silence. I slowly put down my chopsticks. No, I smiled. I just think these shrimp are very fresh. Blissfully unaware of her impending doom. It was our third wedding anniversary. He had booked the most expensive revolving restaurant in the city, but he brought my best Fr. Yen along. Su has been in a bad mood lately. She's not happy being alone at home, so I invited her to come along. Chen Ming explained. Lin Su, my best friend from university. She witnessed the entire process of Chen Ming and I meeting and getting married. Now she was sitting at the anniversary dinner that should have been for my husband and me, wearing a tight red dress. The neckline was disturbingly low. Wei Wei, you don't mind, do you? Lin Su tilted her head to look at me, the diamond earrings on her earlobes glittering. I was very familiar with those earrings. Chen Ming said last month that he was going to give them to a client. Turns out the client was her. How could I mind? I said softly. Chen Ming visibly breathed a sigh of relief. He started ordering, skillfully rattling off Lin Su's preferences. The lobster should be baked with cheese. Su loves that. No onions in the salad. She's allergic. The waiter turned to me. And for the lady. Chen Ming then remembered me. Wei Wei will have the usual. He didn't know, or didn't remember, that I hadn't eaten the usual for almost a year. Since I had gallbladder surgery half a year ago, I couldn't eat anything greasy. Chen Ming was with me when I had the surgery, but he had forgotten. Wei Wei, you've been married for 3 years. When are you planning to have children? Lin Su suddenly asked. I glanced at Chen Ming. His knife paused mid-steak. No rush. He said. How can you say that? Lin Su said playfully. Auntie told me last time that she really wants a grandson. Chen Ming's mom, the woman who never gave me a kind look, but who treated Lin Su like her own daughter. Lin Su's right. Chen Ming suddenly chimed in. Mom called yesterday to urge us. I slowly chewed the food in my mouth. Tasted like wax. Well, see. Lin Su wouldn't let it go. Wei Wei, are you afraid of losing your figure after pregnancy? Don't worry. Look at me. I've been doing yoga consistently. And I've maintained my figure so well. Pregnancy isn't scary at all, as long as you take good care of yourself after giving birth. She gave Chen Ming a meaningful look. You'll definitely recover like before. The air suddenly went quiet. Chen Ming's fork scraped against the plate, making a jarring sound. I looked up. You seem to know a lot about it. Lin Su's face changed slightly. Then she smiled. I'm just doing my homework in advance. After all, it's something we'll experience sooner or later, right? Chen Ming lowered his head, concentrating on cutting his meat, but his ears turned red. He always got like that when he was nervous. 10 years. I knew him too well, like I knew the shrimp on the plate that no one was touching. I ran into Lin Su when I went to the restroom. She was standing in front of the marble sink, touching up her makeup, using Christian Louboutin lipstick, that expensive brand I couldn't name. Chen Ming gave it to me. She noticed my gaze and shook the golden tube in her hand proudly. He said this color suits me very well. I silently washed my hands. The water temperature was just right, but tea couldn't warm the coldness in my fingertips. Wei Wei, there's something I don't know if I should say or not. Lin Su leaned closer to the mirror, carefully drawing her lip line. Then don't say it. She was taken aback, clearly not expecting me to answer like that. But she quickly recovered her smile. It's about Chen Ming. I turned off the faucet, raised my head and looked directly into her eyes in the mirror. Say it. Was he on a business trip to Shanghai last week? I nodded. Did he say he was staying at the Pudong Shangri-La? I nodded again. Lin Su turned to face me. Actually, he was with me, she said softly. We spent 3 days at the Peninsula Hotel by the Bund. She took out her phone from her delicate handbag, swiped a few times, and handed it to me. In the photo, Chen Ming was fast asleep. His naked shoulders were exposed outside the duvet. Behind him was the dazzling night scene of the Huangpu River. Not just this time. Lin Su took back her phone, her tone filled with pity. Wei Wei. For over a year. He's been coming to see me almost every week. I stared at my empty hands. Suddenly, I remembered something. So last year on my birthday, he said he had an urgent business trip. Yes, he was at my place, Lin Su admitted without hesitation. I had a fever that day. And he was worried about me. How ridiculous. I waited for him with the cake until dawn. He was with another woman. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Lin Su's red-nailed fingers gently touched my arm. Because you should back out. Wei Wei. He doesn't love you anymore. He just doesn't have the heart to say it. I looked at her meticulously made-up face. Suddenly, I remembered the first time she stayed overnight at my house in college. We squeezed into one bed and talked until dawn. She said her parents were divorced and neither of them wanted her. She said, Wei Wei, you are my only friend. I held her hand and said, it's okay. My family is your family. Later, I truly treated her like family. I took her home for dinner, introduced her to Chen Ming. She was the only bridesmaid at my wedding. When she caught the bouquet, she cried and said she hoped she could be as happy as me someday. Now she wants my happiness. All of it. You know, Wei Wei. Lin Su's voice pulled me back to reality. Chen Ming said I'm better in bed than you. Enough. I cut her off. I pulled out a paper towel. Slowly. I dried each finger. Then I tossed it in the trash. Thank you for telling me, I said. I turned and left. When I returned to the table, Chen Ming was looking at his phone. A smile played on his lips. I recognized that smile. It was the expression he wore when he was deeply in love. Once. It was directed at me. Now, I wonder who it's for. He saw me and quickly locked the screen. What took you so long? I ran into Lin Su and chatted for a few minutes. His expression tightened. What did you talk about? I picked up my water glass and took a sip. The lemonade was a little tart. We talked about shrimp. Shrimp. Yeah. She said the shrimp you peel is delicious. Chen Ming's face relaxed. Even a little smug. She just likes to joke around. The waiter brought the desserts. It was my favorite. Molten chocolate cake. But there were only 2 servings. Chen Ming's serving was naturally pushed to the spot where Lin Su had just been sitting. Su loves this. She can eat it when she gets back. I looked at the lone cake. Suddenly, I laughed. Chen Ming. Yeah. Let's get divorced. He looked up sharply, as if he hadn't heard me correctly. What? I said. Let's get divorced. Chen Ming's expression shifted from confusion to annoyance. Just because of a shrimp. No. I put down my water glass. The glass collided with the table, making a crisp sound. Because you peeled shrimp for her too skillfully. Because you remembered all her preferences but forgot my dislikes. Because you gave her diamond earrings but lied, saying they were for a client. Because you took her to see the river view at the Peninsula Hotel but forgot my birthday. Because you gave her your share of dessert. I said it all in one breath, calmly, as if reciting a list that had nothing to do with me. Chen Ming's face turned pale. Wei. Let me explain. No need. I stood up. I took a few bills from my wallet and placed them on the table. Anniversary dinner. Let's split the bill. Qin Ming grabbed my wrist. Just because of these little things. Is it worth it? I looked at his clenched hand. Once. This hand put a wedding ring on my finger, promising forever. Now it only felt foreign. Little things. I repeated softly. Then I laughed. Qin Ming, you know. It's never the last straw that breaks the camel's back. It's every single one. I withdrew my hand. I left the restaurant without looking back. The moment the elevator doors closed, I heard Lin Su's voice coming from afar. Qin Ming, has my cake arrived? Through the closing door. I saw her red dress like fire. Walking towards the man who used to be mine. No sadness. No anger. Only a strange calmness. The elevator began to descend. The city night view rose rapidly outside the glass. Like a reversed galaxy. I took out my phone and sent a WeChat message to my college classmate who works as a lawyer. I want a divorce. As soon as possible. The other party replied instantly. Why the sudden decision? I watched the numbers on the elevator display screen change constantly, like watching the distance between me and the past, getting further and further away. It's not sudden. I typed slowly. It's finally. The night breeze was cool when I walked out of the restaurant building. I wrapped my coat tight. Wyan stood by the roadside waiting for a car. The phone kept vibrating. The screen lit up and then dimmed. All from Qin Ming. Finally. I answered it. Wei, where are you? Let's talk. His voice was hurried and flustered. There's nothing to talk about. I looked at the huge billboard across the street. It had the promotional slogan for the latest romance movie. A lifetime. A world. A couple. How ironic. How long have you been together? I asked. What? You and Lin Su. Since my birthday. Or earlier. A long silence. Then his voice. On the verge of collapse. A year and a half. Wei. I'm sorry. I hung up the phone. And blacklisted his number. The ride-hailing car arrived. The driver rolled down the window. Passenger with the last four digits 6087. I nodded and opened the car door. Where to? He asked. My hand. Fastening the seat belt. Paused for a moment. Then I said the address of the apartment I lived in before I got married. That small apartment I had kept for 3 whole years. The one I couldn't bear to sell even though Qin Ming had repeatedly advised me to. Okay. The driver stepped on the gas. The car drove into the dazzling streets. I leaned against the car window. Watching my reflection. No tears in the corners of my eyes. Only relief. The car stopped steadily below the apartment building. I paid and got out. This small one-bedroom apartment was bought with 3 years' worth of salary after I started working. Qin Ming once laughed at it, calling it small but complete. It had been years since I came back, and the lock was a bit stiff. I twisted it several times before it opened. The smell of dust hit my face. But surprisingly, the house was very clean. The cleaning lady I hired regularly had obviously been coming all along. I walked to the window and pulled open the heavy curtains. The city lights poured in. My phone was vibrating incessantly in my bag. I didn't need to look to know who it was. I silenced it and threw it on the sofa. Then I walked into the bedroom. The bed sheets were still the same set from 3 years ago. A light blue starry sky pattern. When Qin Ming first stayed over at my house, he pointed at them and laughed at me for being childish. A 26-year-old still sleeps with star sheets. I pushed him onto the bed then, and lay on top of him. Then don't sleep with them. He laughed, hugged me, and flipped us over, pinning me underneath him. I insist on it. His kiss landed. Gentle and lingering. I want to sleep with them forever. That was when we had just started dating for half a year. One summer, I suffered from heat stroke and had a fever of 38.5 degrees Celsius. Chin Ming took a day off and stayed at my house for 3 whole days. He clumsily cooked porridge, making a mess of the kitchen. I lay in bed, hearing him frantically answering phone calls outside, probably about work. I'm taking care of my girlfriend. I can't leave. His tone was firm. Yes, nothing is more important than her. Later, the porridge was cooked, and he brought it in, blowing on each spoonful to cool it before feeding it to me. You have to finish it even if it's bad, he said gruffly. I'm dedicating my first time cooking to you. The porridge was indeed bad. Half of it burnt, and too salty, but I ate it all. That night, my fever was high, and he didn't dare sleep. So he leaned against the headboard, holding me in his arms. Sleep. He gently patted my back. I'll watch over you. In a half-dreaming state, I felt a gentle touch on my forehead. He was checking my temperature, again and again. On the morning of the 4th day, my fever broke. When I woke up, I found him asleep by the bed, with dark circles under his eyes. I moved slightly, and he immediately woke up. What's wrong? Still not feeling well. He reached out to feel my forehead. I took his hand. Chin Ming, I said, let's get married. He was stunned, then his eyes lit up. Little by little, proposing is my job. He chuckled, pinching my cheek. Once you're feeling better, I'll take you somewhere. A week later, he took me to the beach. In the evening, the sunset dyed the sea a golden red. He knelt on one knee, pulling out a ring. Zhao Weiwei, will you marry me? I teased him on purpose. Why should I marry you? Because even though the porridge I make is awful, I'll only ever make it for you. Because I want to be with you for the rest of my life, whether you have a fever or not. Because. He paused, looking up at me, his eyes filled with tiny stars. Without you, my world just doesn't turn. I held out my hand, and he slipped the ring onto my ring finger. The size was perfect. How did you know my ring size? He grinned triumphantly. I secretly measured it while you were sleeping. The waves crashed against the rocks. He kissed me in the sunset. The salty sea breeze mixed with the taste of our tears. At that moment, I thought, this was forever. In the first year of our marriage, he kept up his little habits. When I had my period, he would prepare a hot water bottle and brown sugar water in advance. When I worked late, he would always leave the living room light on for me. Once, after a project of mine failed, my boss tore me to shreds, and I came home and sobbed on the sofa. He didn't ask any questions. He just picked me up and gently placed me in front of the dining table. On the table was a cake, ugly but cute, celebrating my wife having a rough day. He lit the candles. Make a wish, and everything will be better tomorrow. I cried even harder. Where did the cake come from? I made it. He looked a little embarrassed. It might not look great, but it should taste okay. I cut a piece and put it in my mouth. It was too sweet, with way too much sugar. Is it good? He looked at me expectantly. I nodded, scooping up a spoonful and feeding it to him. He ate it, and his brow immediately furrowed. Don't eat it if it's so bad. No way. I clutched the cake to my chest. This is the first cake my husband ever made for me. Finally, we finished the whole cake by splitting it. It was so rich that we both drank several glasses of water. Before going to sleep, he held me and said, Wei Wei, no matter what happens in the future, you must remember that you still have me. I will always, always stand by your side. The phone screen lit up again. This time it was Lin Su. I stared at the name for a few seconds, then answered, Wei Wei. You finally answered the phone. I don't know what Chen Ming told her, but her voice was tearful. Let me explain. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Chen Ming and we were just confused for a moment. I walked to the window, watching the endless stream of car lights below, confused for a whole year and a half. Silence on the other end of the phone. Only suppressed sobbing remained. Wei, can we meet? Just give me a chance to explain. Okay, I said. 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. The coffee shop downstairs from my house. After hanging up the phone, I stood for a long time, until my legs were numb. I slowly moved to the sofa and sat down. There was a half-worn throw pillow in the corner of the sofa. Chen Ming and I bought it together at IKEA. We almost got into a fight with someone else to grab this discounted item. We finally got it, and he proudly held up the spoils, shouting loudly in the crowd, "Zhao Wei, look how awesome I am." Everyone around was looking at us. I was flushed with embarrassment, but my heart was incredibly sweet. Now that throw pillow is still here, but he's already gone. Or rather, he left a long time ago, without my knowing. Step by step, he walked out of my life. The next afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop 10 minutes early. I chose a seat by the window. Lin Su appeared on time. She was dressed very plainly today, in a white shirt and jeans, and didn't even wear makeup. She was completely different from the dazzling woman in the red dress last night. Wei. She sat down across from me, her hands clasped nervously together. I stirred the coffee in front of me. Speak. Chen Ming and I. It started in March of last year. I thought carefully. At that time, I was preparing for an important qualification exam, staying in the library every day, and not returning home until very late. He didn't deliberately break his promise on your birthday. Lin Su continued. That day, my ex-boyfriend came to find me, and we argued very fiercely. I had a moment of despair and took sleeping pills. She raised her teary eyes. Chen Ming went to the hospital to save me. He stayed up all night watching over me, and lied about being on a business trip because he was afraid you'd worry. I slowly set down my coffee spoon. So, you're telling me that you had an affair because you wanted to kill yourself? No. She quickly defended. We couldn't help ourselves. Couldn't help yourselves. I repeated the phrase, finding it incredibly ironic. What kind of couldn't help yourselves makes a man spend his wife's birthday with another woman? Lin Su's tears fell. Wei, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to hurt you. But you did, I said. And it's been going on for a year and a half. She covered her face, her shoulders trembling slightly. I know nothing I say now will help. But Chen Ming, he loves you. I laughed. Loves me so much he slept with you for a year and a half. Her face turned instantly pale. It's not like that. Then what is it like? I leaned forward, looking directly into her eyes. Tell me, Lin Su, when you're having sex, does he call your name? Or mine? Her lips trembled, unable to speak. I leaned back in my chair. Never mind. It doesn't matter anymore. The waiter brought over the latte Lin Su ordered. The latte art was beautiful, in the shape of a heart. She stared at the coffee and suddenly said, I'm pregnant. The air froze. The sound of traffic outside the window, the music in the cafe, all disappeared. Only the sentence she had just spoken echoed in the air. I'm pregnant. How far along? My voice was surprisingly calm. 2 months. She said softly. Wei, I know I'm sorry for what I've done to you, but the child is innocent. The first looked at her still flat stomach. There was a life there. Chen Ming and I had talked about children. He said he wanted 2, a boy and a girl. The boy like me, and the girl like me too. Why do they both have to be like me? Because I love everything about you. Now, he was having a child with another woman. How ironic. Congratulations. I said. Lin Su was stunned. You're not angry. Would being angry help? I countered. Will it make you not pregnant? Or turn back time? She lowered her head. Wei, I'm really so sorry. No need to apologize. I picked up my bag and stood up. You two are a good match. The sun was lovely when I walked out of the cafe. I stood on the roadside and took a deep breath. It felt like all the stale air in my lungs had been expelled. My phone rang. It was my lawyer classmate, Wei. Qin Ming contacted me. He wants to talk to you. Talk about what? He said. He doesn't want a divorce. I laughed. He doesn't get to decide. Also, the lawyer paused. He's demanding a share of the apartment you owned before the marriage. My heart sank. On what grounds? He says that the apartment was retained throughout your marriage, and the property management fees and utility bills were paid from the joint account. Also, the money you paid for cleaning services came from the joint assets. I gripped my phone tightly. So he claims that the apartment has been converted into joint property of the couple, and he has the right to demand a share. The sunlight suddenly became glaring. I squinted, watching the endless stream of vehicles on the road. The man who once took leave from work to stay by my side for 3 days when I had a fever. Now, for the sake of money, he wants to seize my premarital property. Tell him, I said, enunciating each word. If he wants a divorce, it'll be on my terms. Otherwise, I'll see him in court. After hanging up the phone, I stood there for a long time, until a little flower girl tugged at my sleeve. Sister, buy a bouquet of flowers. Her basket was filled with fresh lilies. The first time Qin Ming gave me flowers, they were lilies. He said lilies were pure, and they suited me. Later, I learned that he gave Lin Su red roses. Sister, the little girl called out again. I paid for all the lilies. Then, I walked to the nearest trash can and threw the whole bouquet in. Qin Ming refused to sign. He was like a madman, blocking me downstairs at my company every day. Wei, let's talk. He had lost a lot of weight. His eye sockets were sunken, and he hadn't shaved. I walked around him and continued forward. I don't want that apartment. He shouted behind me. Let's start over. Okay. I stopped, turned around, and looked at him. What about your child with Lin Su? You don't want that either. His face changed drastically. How? How do you know? She told me. I said. 2 months now. Congratulations. You're going to be a father. He lunged forward to grab my arm, but I stepped back, avoiding him. It was an accident, he explained urgently. She was upset that day. We had been drinking. It's always an accident. I chuckled. An accident for 1.5 years. He was speechless. Qin Ming, just sign the papers. Let's part ways amicably. Impossible. His eyes reddened. I will never divorce you. Looking at his stubbornness, I suddenly felt a pang of pity. Is it because you love me? Or because you can't bear to part with my money? He was as if he had been slapped, freezing in place. What? What are you saying? Lin Su told me everything. I said slowly. You had a failed investment last year, and you owe a lot of money. You've used my savings, my investments, even the money my parents left me. Haven't you? His face turned deathly pale. She told you even that. Seems like it's true. I nodded. So you won't get a divorce because you're afraid these things can't be hidden during the division of property. He opened his mouth, but ultimately said nothing. He defaulted. I turned and headed toward the parking lot. This time, he didn't chase after me. Back home, I called Li Yu, my classmate who's a lawyer. He doesn't agree to a divorce by agreement. That's expected, Li Yu said. His financial situation is terrible right now. And your assets are his only lifeline. What should I do then? Sue, Li Yu said crisply. Use the affair as grounds to request that the at-fault party receive less property. Do you have evidence? I thought of the photos Lin Sue had sent me, and Qin Ming's countless late nights over the past year. Yes. Good, Li Yu said. Also, he used joint marital property to cover his debts without authorization. That's also our bargaining chip. After hanging up, I started organizing the evidence. Chat history, hotel invoices, credit card statements. The more I organized, the colder my heart became. It turned out this marriage had long been an empty shell, and I was the last to know. The phone rang. It was Qin Ming's mother. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered. Wei Wei. Her voice was unusually warm. I heard you and Mingming are having some conflicts. It's not just conflicts, I said. We're getting divorced. Oh dear. Which couple doesn't quarrel? She said with a chuckle. Mingming was just confused for a moment. Give him a chance, Mom. I interrupted her. Lin Sue is pregnant. Did you know? Silence on the other end of the phone. After a long while, she finally spoke. Sue is a good child. So you knew. She was silent again. So the whole world knew. Only I was kept in the dark. Wei Wei. Mingming he. No need to say anything. I hung up the phone. Tears finally fell. Not for Qin Ming, but for the naive me who believed in love. 3 days later, I formally filed a divorce lawsuit with the court. Qin Ming completely lost it after receiving the summons. He called me from different numbers, from begging to threats. Zhao Weiwei. Don't push me. You're the one who's pushing me, I said calmly. You should have thought of this outcome from the day you cheated. I was wrong. Okay. He suddenly broke down and cried. I really know I was wrong. Give me another chance. I gave you opportunities, one said. Every time you came home late. Every time you lied. Those were opportunities. He was still crying. Like a child. I used to hate seeing him cry the most. Now I just feel disgusted. Qin Ming. Save your tears and go cry to the judge. I hung up the phone and blacklisted the number again. Li Yu told me that Qin Ming had hired a lawyer and insisted on dividing my premarital property. He said the maintenance fees for that apartment came from common property, claiming it has been converted into marital common property. He's shameless to the core. I sneered. It's okay. Li Yu was very calm. We have evidence of his infidelity, and evidence of his unauthorized use of common property. The judge will make a fair ruling. The day before the trial, Lin Sue came to me. Her belly was already slightly bulging. Wei Wei, please withdraw the lawsuit, she said crying. Qin Ming is in a very bad state now. Drinking all day long. None of my business. Do you have to force him to his death? Looking at her tearful face, I suddenly found it ridiculous. When you guys were sleeping together behind my back, why didn't you think about forcing me to my death? She was speechless. Lin Sue, if you're here to plead for him, you can leave. She bit her lip and suddenly knelt down. I beg you, for the sake of the child. I watched my best friend kneeling in front of me. For my husband. No. Soon to be ex-husband. A chill settled in my heart. Get up. You look pathetic like that. She refused to rise. Only wept harder. I took out my phone. Want me to take a picture and show it to the judge tomorrow? Mistress Neil's begging original wife to drop lawsuit. Should score some points. She shot to her feet. Her eyes venomous. Zhao Weiwei. You're ruthless. Not as much as you are, I said quietly. At least I didn't set out to destroy someone else's family. She slammed the door behind her as she left. I stood there, rooted to the spot for a long time. Chin Ming looked terrible on the day of the court hearing. He stared at me, his expression complex. There was hatred, regret, and something else I didn't want to delve into. His lawyer, as expected, latched onto my premarital property. All expenses incurred by this property during the marriage were paid from communal marital assets, according to relevant laws. It has been converted into. Liu calmly stood up. Your Honor, the plaintiff has evidence to prove that the defendant committed significant misconduct during the marriage. She handed over a stack of materials. These are the chat logs, hotel records. Anne, Chin Ming's lawyer, interrupted her. These are irrelevant to the division of property. They are relevant, Liu said composedly. The defendant's misconduct directly led to the breakdown of the marriage, and the defendant unilaterally misappropriated a large amount of marital property for personal investment during the marriage, resulting in significant losses. She handed over another document. This is the bank statement, proving that the defendant made multiple large transfers to his personal investment account from March of last year to May of this year, totaling $1,870,000. Chin Ming's face turned ashen. He hadn't expected me to find out about this. The judge flipped through the evidence, his brow furrowing deeper and deeper. Defendant, do you have any objections to this evidence? Chin Ming's lawyer was about to speak, but Chin Ming stood up himself. Judge, I admit I had an affair, but Zhao Weiwei, she didn't even care about this marriage. She only cared about work and never cared about me. The courtroom fell silent, watching him cornered like a desperate dog. I suddenly felt a deep pity. So, the judge said slowly, your reason for having an affair is that your wife was too busy with work. Chin Ming opened his mouth, unable to speak. Please be mindful of courtroom decorum. Defendant. The judge tapped his gavel. Your personal feelings are not a valid excuse for infidelity. The rest of the hearing went smoothly. Liu was well prepared, with irrefutable evidence. Chin Ming's lawyer was in full retreat. Finally, the judge pronounced the verdict in court. Divorce granted. Since Chin Ming was at fault and unilaterally misappropriated marital property, 70% of the marital property was awarded to me. My premarital property remains mine. Chin Ming also has to pay the legal costs. He lost completely. As I walked out of the courthouse, Chin Ming chased after me. Weiwei. I stopped, but didn't turn around. Are you satisfied? His voice was hoarse. Satisfied with what? I turned to face him. Satisfied that my husband cheated on me with my best friend. Satisfied that my 3-year marriage was a joke. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. No need. I said. From now on, we're even. I walked towards Liu's car. He shouted after me. I really did love you. My hand on the car door hesitated. Then I got into the car and closed the door. Liu started the car and glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Are you okay? I stared out the window at the street scenes rushing by. I'm fine. Never been better. The car passed the restaurant we used to love. Through the glass window, I saw a young couple sharing a dessert. The girl fed the boy a bite, and they smiled at each other. So much like we used to be. Want to stop for a moment? Liu asked. No need. I said. Let's go. The past should stay in the past. A month later, I moved back to my premarital apartment. I redecorated and replaced all the furniture. Even the starry sky patterned sheets were thrown away. The new sheets are pure white, simple and clean. On the weekend, I invited Liu to my home for dinner and cooked myself. She brought a bottle of red wine. To celebrate your rebirth, we clinked glasses. Honestly, Liu said, I didn't expect you to be so decisive. Otherwise, I picked up a shrimp and expertly peeled it. Cry and beg him to come back. A lot of women would. I put the peeled shrimp in my mouth. The fresh sweetness spread across my tongue. That wasn't me. After dinner, we sat on the balcony drinking. The night was beautiful. The stars were bright. You know, Li Yu said suddenly. Qin Ming and Lin Su broke up. The hand holding my glass paused in its swirling. Why? Supposedly because of money. Li Yu shrugged. Qin Ming's assets have shrunk so much now, and he's up to his ears in debt. You set a precedent. Lin Su wouldn't be willing to suffer with him. So she simply had the child aborted and went to another city. I was silent for a moment. Then I raised my glass. To new beginnings. To new beginnings. We drained our glasses. The night breeze was gentle, as if soothing all wounded hearts.